Will there be policy papers written by the CPI
Okay. What
and put
else?
on the website? Okay. Statist. How will the CPI strengthen international cooperation? Will Lots, continuing, how do we defeat the synthetic left? Poppy Chulo, what will CPI do exactly? Will it be international? And that's what I've got written.
Synthetic left. All right. And what will we do? What will we do exactly? That's a good question. Okay. So in terms of policy papers, yes. I think that developing policy papers, engaging in real, actual research, right? That's one thing I would like to do. Is we should have members find issues in the country and start doing research on it and find information. And we should be, again, putting out the most cutting-edge information. My vision is that we would have a daily briefing that would go out every single day, and that people could subscribe to that briefing. And that anyone in the United States who's interested in socialism would be getting this daily briefing and seeing the information that CPI is compiling, right? People would be coming to us because we have this very, very valuable information and that we have our ear to the ground. We're keeping track of real trends. This is what the Heritage Foundation does for the bourgeoisie. This is what the Council on Foreign Relations does for the bourgeoisie, right? This is what the American Enterprise Institute does for the bourgeoisie. It's time that the working class had a think tank of its own that had the most advanced and cutting edge information and was feeding that information to those who want to build a better world. Now, as far as the question of defeating the synthetic left, I think that it's important that we not have a confrontational approach, right? That's the perfect way to isolate ourselves. And that's the last thing we want, right? And if we go in I thought it was very interesting, Mihail's presentation about the conflicts going on inside of the DSA, right? Very interesting, to hear what's going on between this Red Star faction and these social democratic factions, the people that control Jacobin. And I think the more information we can dig up about who these factions are in DSA and who they represent and who they're tied to and who's funding them and what agendas they have is very important. But at the same time, I would encourage those of us who are members of DSA not to get in a fight, not to get in a confrontation. Because at the end of the day, DSA is going to be run by the people who run DSA. Right. And that if we go in there and look like we're trying to set up a fight and a factional fight, it'll be very easy to isolate us. But, wouldn't it be great, though, if in everyone's local DSA chapter, whenever there was something big and cutting edge in the news, like Venezuela or what's been going on, internationally, or what's been going on in the country, that they turned to the CPI people for information. Right. If we were a voice whispering in the ear of the entire DSA, providing our information and our analysis, right? That would be brilliant. If every time we turned around, every time there was a big situation, we had a new book on it that they would read, people would read and learn all kinds of things about it. When there was, there were new, proposals in terms of policy, we would have our website with new policy proposals and demands that were being posted, right? That we wouldn't be a faction competing for power with all the different leftist groups. We would rather be a source of thought and a source of cutting-edge political innovation, right? And that would be the way to change things, by being willing to engage with anybody and provide information with anybody and constantly making ourselves more valuable because of intellectual research and academic work that we are doing. Now, in terms of international cooperation, I must absolutely say that right now there is an urgent need to get American working people in general, but most especially American socialists and people that are leftists, to understand that neither Russia or China is their enemy, and that there is some COINTELPRO stuff going on right now. Let's be real, right? The New York Times, they ran an article, not an article, but like a video production that they made attacking China's healthcare system. And it was exposed by the journalist Nathan Rich. Now, why do you think they picked the issue of healthcare to attack China? Why? Because that's an issue that's very, very important to Bernie Sanders supporters. And the idea that was to send a message to people in the United States who want single-payer healthcare that China is not your friend, and that video was full of lies. I mean, they mistranslated people on purpose. Nathan Rich, the journalist, ripped it to shreds. It was a lie, but it was aimed at socialists. There's a reason, the New York Times will run continuous articles, right? Young Marxists arrested in China. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? It's aimed at Marxists in the United States. China is your enemy. And it's like, it'd be funny. It'd be like, imagine an article in China, young capitalist arrested in China, or arrested in the United States, right? I mean, it would be ridiculous, right? I mean, China, the ruling ideology is communism. So the idea that somebody who believes in communism might get arrested, if you really think about it, is not a scandal. There's probably more to the story than that. We don't know. Was it a justified arrest or not? There's more to the story than simply this young person believed in Marxism and got arrested. But there's a reason that they plant stories like that. This is an operation. It is about trying to do what the capitalists were very successful in doing in the lead up to World War I, which is get the socialist movement and get advocates for the working class at home to be advocates of war and international tension abroad, right? They want to transform believers in socialism, instead of being fighters for peace, instead of being fighters for international friendship and cooperation and international solidarity. They want to mobilize leftists to promote the idea that a war with China or a war with Russia would be a good thing because Russia and China are a bunch of phonies and they're all racist and sexist and homophobic or whatever. And we have to combat that. That doesn't mean we should blindly apologize for everything that these countries do. That doesn't mean we should simply we should never deny that bad things happen over there, or that we should be lobbyists for a foreign government or something like that. I would never advocate such a thing. But we need to push back against the efforts in left-wing circles to cultivate a warlike mentality, because that's what they're doing. I mean, certain voices have been highlighted on the internet to represent socialist and Marxist thought, and their main message is, young people, oh, you're interested in socialism? Russia's your enemy. China's your enemy. Anyone who defends Russia and China is a secret Nazi, right? This is being consciously done. The ruling class knows what they're doing, right? The synthetic left was created consciously, right? The Congress for Cultural Freedom. There's a whole history of that, of trying to maneuver and manipulate the socialist movement to serve Wall Street imperialism and tearing down countries around the world. So we need to consciously and carefully push back against that, but not do so in a way that will isolate us, because, there's going to be people that would like to isolate it. There's already people that think, that this is, I'm trying to start a new party, right? That's out there, right? Oh, Caleb's just trying to start a new party. Well, I'm not trying to start a new party, right? There are people watching right now who are in all kinds of different political tendencies. And that's absolutely fine with me. And that's what I want, right? And I want us to be the cutting edge in every single one of these organizations, right? I want us to have cutting edge information that will be useful to every single one of these organizations. But ultimately, I want us to get out of that little tiny leftist activist milieu and get to the masses. And that's going to require political innovation. So I hope that answers those 4 questions.